Hello and welcome along to another episode and another end of season review from this FM22 One Club story from Hemel Hempstead Town with me, Daniel. It's part 114 today and we are back to review the 13th season in charge of Hemel Hempstead. A year that was a little bit bizarre come the second half of the season. We started slowly, we grew gradually into the year, but by February time, we were purely focused on the cups. We actually deliberately dropped away in the league. We left our backup side for most of those weekend games as we went on an unexpected run in Europe and to the final of both domestic cups. We won the League Cup for the first time and had the FA Cup final in the last episode. But crucially, with a cup win came the return to European football, which means for the second year in a row, Hemel Hempstead Town will be playing in the Europa League. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this squad progresses. Those of you who have been following the last few episodes will know that we've already secured our first two summer signings too. And today, all of the focus is going to be on the players. No data hub, no medical centre, no staffing, no dynamics, nothing like that. We're going to look at how good this squad has become, how much the young stars we bought in many years ago have progressed, and where we need to improve in this summer transfer window. So if you like the sound of that and you want to be part of the action, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from two long-term stories. We had a big one in the head coach yesterday. You can find that up in the eye above. Cup final time over there as well. And of course, as well as that one, you can stay up to date with all our other channels in the eye above. The Twitch channel, the football podcast and the merchandise store too. And you can support the show as a channel member down below by clicking the join button if you wish. But we have got a lot to get through today with this squad. We will of course do the usual end of season review verse. That is coming tomorrow morning as we reflect on two domestic cup titles with Hemel Hempstead Town. We're back where we left off after winning the FA Cup, securing ourselves a brilliant place in the Europa League again and winning the last league game to finish in 8th place despite being the second best side on the pitch against Thomas Tuchel's Leicester. So let's get through to tomorrow morning, do the end of season review, and then we're going to take an in-depth look at our brilliant young squad here. And here is our end of season review. I've said to you many a time that we will go for trophies above a top 4 finish or a top 6 finish. As was proved this year, we risk not getting into Europe in the league by going for it in the cups to add a trophy to the cabinet. And it's important to us that we don't become that flash in a pan that wins one trophy and then just sort of become a side that floats around in 5th, 6th, 7th place. I want to win consistently. It's now 3 trophies in 2 years. Twice we've won our favourite competition, the FA Cup, and we've added a Carabao Cup this year too. We compete in Europe most seasons. We're building, and we're building properly. One of the things I've got to say this year, actually, we'll get to it in the squad as we look at the signings in and out this summer. We've not had many players saying they want to leave for bigger clubs or anything, so we're obviously progressing at the right rate. We're bringing in players with lower reputation and developing them, and that is working out for us at the moment. So in terms of the new signings, Scott Egan, of course, featured mainly in Europe and the Cups. Josh Hayes, likewise, absolutely brilliant for us. 2 very solid squad signings and economic ones too. Tammy Abraham turned into a brilliant free deal. He'll leave us at the end of the year. He did a solid job, scored goals galore in Europe, and will be replaced by Tyrese Ricketts this summer. Carlos Martin, the January signing, is just starting to develop now. Finishing is creeping up, not by a full attribute point yet, but it's someone we can look to in the future. Shane Leacock, another good squad player, the same as Peebles and Coronel too. And Rodrigo Delgado, the big summer signing, had a slow start, but has now picked up the language and is playing really well. Someone that's going to be a star for us for many years to come. And if you compare that to the players that went out, Panjovic, who you'll almost forget was here, 13.5 million. What a deal that is when you consider we got Coronel for less. And he's had a good season at Shakhtar, to be fair to him. Josh O'Brien joined the old boys over at Salzburg. There's a few of them out there. Ricky J. Jones, of course, being a star. He had a really solid year too. Albi Armin went to Burton, Will Lancashire to Luton. But if you look at the players that have come in to the players that went out, we've upgraded this squad so much. And continue to bring the average age down too. Kaplan had a poor year at Norwich, but how we got 22 million for him, I'll never know. And again, just proves how important the right recruitment is. If we go to loans out, there's some players there we'll be having a look at for next season. Jason Dolner stepped up a division with Notts County, had another brilliant year. Do we keep him as 5th choice next season? Perhaps, there's a good argument for it. I wonder if they got promoted in the end actually. They didn't, they drifted away. Jovan we lent out to Burnley the second half of the year. He's improving there. We'll come back into the squad next season. And even some of the younger ones had a good time. Kagiso Maya did really well at Barrow. Harry Thornley, we've probably got to make a decision on this summer. And Emiliano Rojas was doing so well until he got injured. But he's still really developing. And I fancy him to be part of the squad in the long-term future. So some decisions to be made there. We'll do that in a moment. But let's reflect on a season that was just brilliant. We did have some moments of fortune in the FA Cup. We were behind against Millwall. We struggled to penalties against Watford. Another one of those crucial Abraham goals to equalise there. But when push came to shove against, look at the last three sides we beat. You can't argue we deserved to win it. The top two in the league and then City who were fourth. That's a pretty incredible effort. The Carabao Cup, we were slightly more fortunate in the draw, but we had to beat Arsenal the first game. We got outplayed. We managed to nick one. And then after that, we were very solid. We were terrible in the final against Tottenham, but got through on penalties. And John Moore became a hero again. Battered in the Community Shield, our first and only defeat at Wembley Stadium. A great run to the semi-finals in Europe. Got past a group that included Juventus and two minnows, albeit in second place. And some great runs along the way until Bilbao knocked us out. And the Premier League's the only one that really suffered. We dropped a couple of positions to 8th after a really strong season last year. And as a result of that, we relied on those cup results. And to be honest, it boiled down to that first sort of 9-10 games where we lost 3, we drew 4, and we only won the 2. We were actually in the relegation zone at that point, weren't we? And towards the end of the season, of course you can see, the form really dried up here. December time, we got to the Carabao Cup semi-finals, we got through the Europa League group, and we really had to take the choice to prioritise. But some heavier defeats than we'd like, and that's something we've got to work on next season. A match to remember is a 3-2 win against City. That was a pretty good game, I'll accept that, because we were pegged back from 2-0 down and managed to nick it late on. Goal of the season was Torres against Spurs, and the biggest win was 5-0 against Bournemouth. I thought we might have had a bigger one than that, but not to be. Let's go through to the finances for the year. They should be much better this season, because we played in the Europa League. And it is. The sponsorship's up, the broadcast revenue will be by the end of the year, and everything else is too. The shirt sales, you'd expect all the stars, and the returning Scott Egan, he's right in there, despite being a backup player. But still 3.5-star reputation, despite 3 trophies and a European semi-final. Maybe it'll come later in the summer, because that's what happened last time. And through to the lineup, they've put Terry Clark in at number 10, perhaps because he played more games and was here all year. Charlie McNeil's up alongside Ricker instead of Torres. The rest of the team I agree with, but a couple that are hard done by there, particularly Torres. What I didn't realise this season, and one for the books, is that Scott Egan has come back and broken our league appearance record. That's absolutely excellent. I don't think anyone's catching Ricky J. Jones' goal record in a hurry, but if Scott Egan can improve on that, it will certainly help moving forward. We paid our biggest ever fee in January. We signed our oldest player last summer as well. So a few bits of history this season, in addition to all the normal awards. Of course, Ricker picking up most of them. He scored 29 goals in all competitions. So history in the making as we win both domestic trophies. We know that's not going to happen every year, but it's lovely to get them while we can. And if we can compete for one again next season, even if for the rest of this save, we won 1 Premier League at some point, 1 European trophy and won the League Cup nearly every year, I'd be happy with that. But let's aim big. The League Cup, we'll start with it as a backup priority, and as with this season, if we get further in, we'll take our chance to try and win a cup. So let's get through to the rest of the messages. Is there anything else we need to see? Who's inducted into the overall best 11? Hanifan, Moore and Ndu. Hanifan from the start, but the rest of them still not able to displace the others yet. So we've still got Kolka Pekka in there, still got Arthur Reed, Callum Hazeman. There's some nostalgia there. And look at that for a front two now. Mario Ricker and Ricky J. Jones. If we had both of those in their pomp, we would be battering teams. So with the review done, let's see what's expected next year. The club vision and expectations meeting is going to be interesting. Where do they want us to be? Mid-table, okay. So I saw top half from the players' point of view, which I think is fair. They won a Europa League quarter-final, which we did last year, but that's going to be an arse because it depends on the draw. So let's accept that vision. We're pretty happy with it. We're doing all of the club culture items pretty well. Torres actually, look at that. Torres won Young Player of the Year. Got a 7.15 rating. and didn't even get voted in the Hemel Hempstead Team of the Year. That is absolutely stunning. Charlie McNeil was ahead of him, but he's the young player of the Premier League, won European Golden Boy in January. I don't really get it. What a player he is. And he's one of many that have just come so far at this football club. So let's go to the squad, because I want that to be the focus for the second part of this episode. We are going to get all of these players out, including the ones out on loan. And we're going to decide who's going to stay and who's going to go next year. But we're also going to look at the progress of some of these starters, because you might be wondering why we're being so successful without really many first 11 signings. But it's just the fact that those young players we signed who were wonder kids 2, 3, 4 years ago, or were hot prospects, they've all developed and reached their peak now. So let's get the squad up. I should quickly mention the contractual side as well. Most players under contract for multiple years. Basically all the first teamers for 3 years or more. It's only Terry Clark who goes next year. Cordes likely to be one of those who's off. And Berry I'd like to have kept, but he doesn't want to stay. The rest of them, though, 3 years or more. And that is a really good sign for stability and for the wage bill. Because if we can get through one more year before the new stadium and keep the wage bill under control, that will give us a real springboard. Because once we double our capacity and our income every day, don't have to pay rent for a stadium that we don't own, that's when we can really start to kick off. So for now, one more year of holding on like this, and hopefully we can still have greater success. With that though, let's get back to the general info, because I want to show you some of these stars. We start with John Moore in goal, who, again, particularly in the League Cup final this year, the FA Cup semi-final too, just proved his heroics yet further. I've got the progress chart on the right here so you can see it. Gone all the way up here over the last year. But if we go back further than that, and particularly if we go back over a 4-year period like you can see here, some of those attributes have just shot up, particularly the mental side of the game too. But John Moore has become, you can see, a very good Premier League goalkeeper. And a reminder now, while he's worth £60 million, 750 grand we signed him for. It was the year we came up to the Premier League, and ironically, it was because we couldn't get Josh Hayes, who's now his number 2. That is probably the best example early on of just how important development can be, and having the right staffing team behind the scenes, because he's now one of the best players at this football club. Looking into defence, I mean, even someone like Josh Berry, they deserve a mention. They've become very good, solid players. But the ones that start every week, they just continue to improve. Hanifan, worth £70 million, on the verge of the England squad. He's phenomenal. He's a very solid player. Yes, a little short in the tackle, but everything else, particularly physically, as a leader, he's got the lot. And we've got a lot of good personalities in this squad, and the importance of that means they reach their potential, something we've talked about an awful lot. Alongside him is C Striker, who always does really well. He's a solid player, he's not developed as much, but has made progress in the last couple of months and was already at a very high starting point. He's someone who I think will be part of this squad for a long time. He's never let me down. Always has one of the best ratings in the team. Out to right back is Dominic Chauvin, who, despite his brilliant natural fitness and stamina, never finishes a game for some reason. But the rest of his stats are great. And again, a little gamble on someone for 8 million quid. And look how good he's become. Now worth 60 to 70 million. Still only 21. You're starting to see when we look at these players how we've become so good, how we've developed over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, look at his backup in Danilo Jose. He's a very solid Premier League player, and he's still only 20 years of age. It's remarkable, really. We've got De Vita coming back this summer, who's had a great season out on loan. He's now officially a wonder kid, having been with O'Brien and with Ricky J. Jones at Salzburg. We know he had good characters to work with there. And look at him here. He's going to be a superstar. And I think he's going to be knocking on the door of the first 11 next year, because we don't have a natural holding midfielder, and he's still got a lot of potential to grow into. Delgado we had a brief look at earlier, same for Jovan and Rojas who were out on loan. But let's go further down into the squad. Arlan is one of those we have to mention. Been playing in the holding role where he's now a natural. He's a class player, he's good on the ball, he could easily step into the midfield too as well. He's got his Brazilian debut now, got his first cap. He's been rock solid in every competition. I feel like he's someone who could go right to the top of the Premier League. And you can see the one issue we might have this summer is a lot of these boys are wanted. Strikers wanted, Chauvin's wanted. We just saw Arlan's wanted there. Are these players going to be tapped up? Terry Clark's another one. There's a couple up front as well. We saw Ricker getting bids in January. If that happens, we could be in trouble. But otherwise, we've got so much to get excited about. Coronel had a solid first year. Look at him improving as well. He's only 1 year into his development at this club, but again is moving forward very quickly, now an Argentina international. Arthur Ndu, one of the experienced heads of the squad at 28. In fact, probably the second oldest once Tammy Abraham leaves. What a player. Again, so resolute in the middle. It's a great personality. His player traits are some of my favourite for a box-to-box midfielder. Runs with the ball through the middle, gets forward whenever possible, gets into the opposition area and knocks the ball past opponent. And with his physical attributes, his passing and first touch, and with his determination and off-the-ball movement, it's just perfect for him. He's a wonderful player, and although he's one of the older heads in the squad, he won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Moving forward again, German Moreira, the first plus 100 million value we've ever had in the squad, and he has really become world class. A two-footed 23-year-old midfielder. We saw the brilliant goal he scored in the FA Cup final. Was his only goal in the Cups this season. Only scored 2 in all competitions. But he saves himself for the big occasions. We see assists from his through balls. We see the quality he's got. The vision, the first touch, the decision making, the composure on the ball. And physically he's caught up as well. He's become a really good player. Uruguay stalwart, Hemel Hempstead stalwart. And here for another 4 years too. Carlos Martin's a new signing, so we'll give him a bit of time, but he is developing slowly already. And then moving forward, it's the Super 2 up front. We've got Mario Rica, who again is on the verge of passing 100 million in value. We had a bid of 90 odd million for him in January from Bayern or Barca, I can't remember which. But he's not going anywhere, because if we're going to reach the top of the game, he's going to be a part of it. He's a fabulous goal scorer. He does the job for us all the time. Physically, he's phenomenal. Technically, he's great. He's amazing off the ball. He's got that bit of flair and he's a model pro. I mean, he's basically your dream, isn't he, as a player? So really keen to keep him here, more for the off-the-pitch stuff as well as on it. And Mario Rica is going to be a key goal scorer for us moving forward. And alongside him, Carlos Torres. How he wasn't in the team of the year, I don't know. He's still got room to develop. I mean, he's pretty good already. But he is a very solid player. He's got 15s in a lot of areas. So you look at his attributes and you think, is he that good? But then if he does go up that one attribute point, you've got 16 dribbling, 16 finishing, 16 composure, anticipation, decision making and pace. Then you look at him and go, well, actually he's a world beater. So he looks like he's average based on this profile at the moment. But if he develops that one more point, we've got someone who's going to be a superstar. And he has had a few little injuries this second half of the year, problems with fatigue too. If we can get the best and the most consistent performances out of him next season, I think we'll have a real gem on our hands too. And maybe he'll reach the same level as Mario Rica. So that's the main reason I wanted to show you this squad, because it looks like, why are we developing so much? But actually there's a very clear reason, and it's that the players are brilliant. I mean, even players I haven't mentioned here, like Jose Maya, very solid pros at this level, and in the Europa League can help carry us to a quarter-final, can take us through in cup games, and can give us a real springboard moving forward. So Josh Berry is going to be off in the summer. We've now got to plan who we want to keep and who we want to let go. So the 2 goalkeepers that are there are great. We're going to need a number 3. That can either come from the youth team or from a cheap backup somewhere across Europe. In defence, we've actually got a fairly stable side because Peebles and Delgado will stay on the left. We've got Peebles secured on loan for another year. Jose and Chauvin are rock solid on the right. They're all 25 and under. There's no complaints. The centre-halves are brilliant. Berry's off, but then Jovan comes back from loan and takes over. If we need a squad option, Thornley can do it. If not, we'll sell him as well. But as a model citizen, maybe we do keep him in the squad and see how he gets on. But either way, we've got 4 great centre-halves. Into midfield, we've got to find De Vita a space next season. Scott Egan has to stay because he's homegrown at the club. So does that mean Shane Leacock maybe moves on? You'd say yes, based on his role in the squad, but look at him. He's developing as well at 25. He's played 10, 15 Europa League and Premier League games. And he suddenly looks like a star. So midfield's my hardest area next year. I'm certain that Cordes will leave the club because he is starting to trail behind a bit now, has more injury problems than everyone, and he's normally the one to miss out on the squad. So I don't want to hold back his career, especially as he's one of the older ones there too. Terry Clark, it will depend whether he signs a reasonable new deal. If he does, he can stay. If he doesn't, then probably farewell to him too. But then that means that perhaps Emiliano Rojas has to go out on loan again, because I can't bring him and De Vita back and then only perhaps let one player go. So I think it will probably be De Vita in, Cordes out, and then pushing Arlan or Egan further forward. But it's a lovely choice to have. And looking at the Europa League next year, even for De Vita as a makeshift centre-half, there are so many good options at this football club. And then moving forward to the front line, we already know what's happening. Tammy Abraham is going out of the club, and in is coming Tyrese Ricketts. A reminder to you that Tyrese Ricketts joins up front. What a player. He's a wonder kid. He rejected us last summer, but it actually means we get him for half the price now. So he's an upgrade on Abraham. He's possibly going to be an upgrade on Torres moving forward. Maybe he is the star for the future. And then looking at the other signing, Louise in midfield. He was the replacement for Leacock initially until he developed. But he's wonderful at 18. Will become homegrown at the club. And maybe all the more reason that we could let Terry Clark go, because we've got a lot of players in there. And we have talked about it during the season. We've got another tactic for it now. Switching to that flat midfield 3. We've done it at times when we're ahead in games or when we're trying to hold on against big sides. But I'm almost thinking now, when we're away from home in the big games in Europe and the big games where we were getting beaten heavily in the Premier League this year, is it the time to go for a flat midfield 3, leave out someone like Carlos Martins, have a natural backup that's a centre midfielder, and then someone like Louise, like Coronel, they can come into the side and make us a bit more sturdy. So that's something I'm looking to evolve tactically over the next year or two. But otherwise, I don't really know what we need to do in the transfer window. I think the 2 big signings are done already, and we're potentially just looking to see, is there a massive centre-half to come and partner Hanifan? If not, we probably won't do anything more. But let me know in the comments what you think of the season, what you think of my squad evaluation, and whether or not I should be doing any other business. I will probably loan out people like Rojas again, as I don't want to hold them back not playing football here. But are we going to be able to maintain this success one more year? And really, when we move into the stadium in a year's time, we want to be in Europa League football at least still. So whether we can achieve that, we'll wait and see. If you did enjoy this episode and end of season review with all the focus on the players, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Let me know in the comments what you agree and disagree with. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. A massive finish to come in the season from the head coach. Yesterday's episode in the eye above. There's also links up there to the Twitch channel, the football podcast and the merchandise store. But above my head now is the latest episode of the head coach. I hope you enjoy that in the short term. And we'll be back here in a couple of days' time for a summer transfer special at Hemel Hempstead Town. Will there be any surprise signings? Will there be any surprise sales? I'll see you next time to find out.